So we are at Snake River Fandom Con with Sugar Glider Comix with Shelby Webb.
Yes.
So tell us about the comic.
So Sugar Glider is Jordan McKenzie, a high school student who one day goes over to the mountains. While she is up there, there is a meteor shower which gives her powers of super speed, height metabolism, and enlarged empathy. That enlarged empathy helps her deal with the antagonists in the story, which are personifications of the problems that teens face. When we're focusing on in this story is self-image, we'll be doing other ones like peer pressure, mental illness, bullying, LGBTQ, suicide, etc., etc. That was weird.
That was probably me.
Instead of beating them up and putting them in jail like your typical average superhero, she wants to help them with whatever it is they're going through.
So what made you want to get into writing this new comic?
Well, I was bullied in the 5th grade very severely by a girl in my school, and it had gotten so bad to the point where she had threatened my life. It was very, very sad and very awful. And also during that time, I had my dad's best friend who committed suicide, and I was very close to him. He was kind of like an uncle. But all of that going around at the same time was very stressful and very hard to go through for an 11-year-old girl. And so I started writing as a way to cope with what I was going through. And I started writing this, and I started going to therapy, and I got a lot better and a lot happier, and now I'm here. And we have it published. We have artists, amazing artists, and it's taken off.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. So Anthony, we both read the comic. Anthony definitely got more into it.
I read it last night and got kind of upset there were cliffhangers, but that's how comics are, so that's fine. Makes you want to get the next one. And
sure.
I liked it. It was neat. Having the ex-ambassadors in there is kind of a nice little treat. Yes. I haven't actually listened to them much before. The name sounded familiar, but yeah, it's cool that they're actually willing to help you out with this.
They
and stuff
are
like that.
amazing. They have awesome music. They're in my top 5 favorite bands.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard them. You just don't remember.
Yeah, I think
they are
I've heard some
they are
songs.
very popular, but a lot of people don't know who they are until you listen to their music. And then it's like, oh, I know these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That's how I am with a lot of bands. Don't really know them unless I actively seek it out, because you just hear it on the radio, and a lot of the times they don't announce who it is.
Yeah.
Or some stations will, but it'll be 3 songs later. So, but yeah, that's cool.
So are you currently working on your 3rd book?
Yes, we are working on the 3rd book. It's about halfway done, and the way that we write it is we write bullet points on my phone in the car. The car is a boardroom. So we'll write bullet points on my phone about what we want to touch on, and then I'll go with my notebook and write really detailed storyline, which probably doesn't need to be as detailed as it is. And then my dad will turn it into, He'll make it so that there are images and stuff that need to be portrayed. What is it called?
Storyboard.
Storyboard.
I wanted to say that, but it didn't sound right. So he'll make it into a storyboard, and he'll send it to the artist, and then the artist will draw up a light pencil sketch, send it to him, and he'll say, yeah, that's great, exactly what we want to portray, or he'll give some tips and stuff, and then they'll finish drawing it, and they'll send us black and whites, inks. Cool. Black and white and inks are the same thing, but they'll send us inks, colors, flats, all sorts of stuff, and it's really fun processing how it's made.
Nice. That was awesome. So, where can people find you?
So you can find us at A12 over there, and you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of the necessary social media that people use these days. And then we also have a website, glidercomics.com. Comics is spelled with an X, so GLIDERCOMIX.com. And you can order comics on there, shirts, hats, posters, all sorts of fun stuff, vinyl decals for your car. We have the works.
Nice.
Any questions about the story?
Yeah, but they're more it'll probably be spoilers for the 3rd one if I ask them.
He'll ask questions. You can decide to answer.
Okay.
So the girl who was in, I know the one that's trying to phrase stuff. The girl who's always like appearing alone and stuff in the second one.
She has the
She also has like powers.
Water.
Yeah, she
Lauren?
got shoved in the first one. What's her name?
Lauren.
Lauren.
Lauren
Yeah,
Young.
it was Lauren. What kind of like does she just like have the morphing power or?
She has different powers, so she can change what she looks like, kind of like Mystique,
Okay.
Clayface.
Yeah.
And she also, since she is glassy and she is prism-like, she can actually direct light in a different way.
Oh.
So it's kind of like a Cyclops sort of thing, but it
Okay.
doesn't come out of her eyes.
Nice.
So that happens. She also has super strength, as you can see. She crushed that beautiful Shelby GT500,
Yeah.
my favorite car. And so those are her powers. She is personified after self-image. She has self-image problems. She thinks she's ugly, even though she's not. So she's going to be getting some help with that through Jordan.
Nice.
So
Okay. And then Jordan's is super speed and whatnot.
super speed, fast healing, and
Oh, right,
enlarged
fast healing.
empathy, which is the one we are trying to...
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we're trying to focus on that one. And then she also has a high metabolism with all speedsters.
Yeah. I remember that part. It'd be nice to be able to eat a big, huge cheeseburger with not having to worry about it.
A huge Dagwood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the meteor event caused all their powers to
Yes. And it was just with teenagers because it targeted a specific hormone or something that only made teenagers get the power, not adults or anything. So it's just the teenagers who are going through these problems that get it.
And there's, good guys, relative bad guys, or point of view.
Yes. So with the first book, it was from Jordan Mackenzie's view. The second book was from Prism, Lauren Young's view. And through that, we changed the artwork. So the first one was by Marcelo Salazar out of Brazil. And the second one, which is from Lauren's point of view, is by Rauvi. And so we changed that up to make it so it's a different person, different point of view. They see the world differently. So we changed the artwork. And we're going to go with Marcelo for the third book, which is also in Jordan's view.
Right. I was going to be my next question. It's like, if it was, so are you still planning on doing different point of view?
Yes.
Is there going to be a book with them after they've all been introduced with the overall story you're thinking about?
Well, so there's going to be a lot of different story arcs. So this 5-6 part series is going to be for self-image and ex-ambassadors. And then we're going to do one book in the middle that is going to be of the Joker type character who is reoccurring.
Right.
And you'll find out who that is later on. And then we're going to do another story arc with a different personification, drugs and alcohol, for example, eating disorders, stuff like that. And we're going to do the 5 to 6 part series, one book, 5 to 6 part series. We're trying to get different celebrities to do it with us, like Ellen, John Barrowman, Dan Reynolds, Imagine Dragons, all of those people that people look up to and find great.
So what, with their personal weaknesses or personal things they deal with, why are you certain, or what makes you decide to give them certain powers?
Well, their powers are personified after the problem that they face. So Lauren wants to change what she looks like so she can do that. And we're going to have one divorced character whose personification of feeling guilty because his parents got divorced. And he feels like he destroys everything that he is a part of. So he's going to be kind of like Gambit. So he can touch something and change the way that it explodes or crumbles or stuff like that. And that's stuff we're doing. It's based off the thing that they are troubled with.
Right. Well, that's really cool. So their weakness is what gives them their powers.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay. That's kind of neat.
Yeah. So with their weaknesses, that also, or with their powers, does it help decide whether they're going to be abuse their powers or be a hero with their powers?
Obviously, most of them are going to abuse their powers or be afraid of them. There is one character that we're doing that is the personification of LGBTQ, and she is a lesbian, and she gets the power of turning into a mermaid. I know it's kind of weird, but she turns into a mermaid. And she accepts it right away because she knows that she's stuck with the legs, but now that she has fins and stuff, that she's like, this is me, I accept it immediately. Most of the people are going to be scared and confused, and then they're going to be like, what is this? Why do I have it? Why is it here? How did I get it? But she's just, this is natural, this is me. So most of them are going to abuse it and be scared of it, but she's not.
Okay. Well, and even those that can accept it might abuse it, going, oh, now I do have this power. And while others are like, well, you know, the Spider-Man reference, you know, I will become a good guy because of it.
Yes.
Yeah, you can. So when you say abuse, is it like in a bad way all the time or good ways as well?
Well, I don't know.
Like I guess,
think most of the time they don't know what they're doing. Kind of like Lauren when she smashes the car.
Yeah.
She's so angry that no one notices her because she makes herself invisible. That she abuses it to say that I'm here, guys.
Okay.
So I think most of the time it's not on purpose.
Okay.
And that makes sense, you know. Yeah. So as people are going, especially where she's acting, it's like, oh, I really don't have this power. This is just, it kind of magnifies what she thinks of herself. And so like that can happen. So she's not a bad person, but because she's doing it recklessly, she doesn't understand her powers, it kind of comes off as a bad person.
Yeah. And none of our antagonists are going to be bad people. We call them antagonists for a reason. They're against Jordan because Jordan is the protagonist. But none of them are bad guys. And that's one saying that we're going to be using a lot is Jordan's going to say there's no such thing as a bad guy because there isn't. They're just confused, they're lost, they're hurting. And so she's going to help them, and family members are going to help them, and everything that we can do to show that you aren't bad because you have these things that you're going through.
No,
you're just struggling.
It's a really good idea because, you know, everyone goes through struggles and all that. And even like, you know, good bad guys like Magneto or Lex Luthor, they see themselves as a good guy because they're protecting their species, or their, you know, like Lex Luthor is protecting the human race against an alien.
Yeah.
Or Magneto protecting the mutants against the humans.
Yeah.
So he sees that they are doing stuff good. They're just kind of aggressively doing it.
Kind of like Thanos. Me and Dad got on a thing with this. Is he has a really good way of saving the race. He just does it in a genocidal way. So he has a good cause, is protecting the people, half of the civilization, so more can grow. But he just does it in a awful way.
The execution is a little off. That was not intended to be a pun. Sorry.
It's bad. So, what can you tell us about future stories coming out?
So we're going to have a lot of, at the end of each storyline, we're going to have a therapist. We're trying to destigmatize the word therapy or therapist because it's a really powerful thing to have a therapist. Because I had one, and a lot of celebrities have one because people go through problems and they need help with it. And sometimes you need to be broken. Sometimes people think that you need to be absolutely shattered to have a therapist, but you don't. You can be struggling with something even as small as my brother punched me in the face, and you could still feel like you need help with that. So there's going to be a therapist who is actually part of my world. His name is Lance, and he is my gunkle, my gay uncle. And him and his fiance Jacob are going to be in it, and he's a therapist in real life. Jacob works at a coffee shop. He's learning to be a therapist, right? Isn't he? I think he is. But they're going to work together Jordan's going to work together with Jacob and Lance to get all of the antagonists in the story help through therapy. So that's definitely an important thing that we got to mention, is that it's not a bad thing to have a therapist, and we're going to express that through the comic book.
Well, that's a really good idea. Yeah. You know, and that's a thing I'm really liking about these, is that these words that have a really big stigma behind them, they're not bad.
Yeah.
You know, asking for help or just talking to people.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
No.
For sure.
And whether it's, you know, professional or even a friend, just, you know.
Yeah.
having it out there.
Yeah, but just talking stuff out will help out anything. Like, even if you're just frustrated and you just want to, like, basically rant, and even if they don't say anything, just talking to them usually will at least help a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So.
I've always been that
nice.
type of person with my friends. I'm always the one who people will come up to and talk about stuff with. Me and my mom always joke that we have pins that says, "You can tell me things. You can express all your feelings through me," and all of that. So we always joke about that.
No, that's really good. You know, to be there for somebody, or even the other idea. Like I always joke, I'm an optimist, and it's probably because I talk.
Yeah.
I've been told I talk too much.
Oh, I talk a lot too.
But it's a good thing, you know, because you get it off your chest. You kind of you can let it go.
Yeah. That's definitely an important thing, is talking and stuff. And we also hope that the comic book will be an outlet to kids to talk to their parents about something that they're going through. Let's say you're going through bulimia or anorexia, and you feel like you are, but you don't know how to tell your parents. There's a comic that we're going to be coming out with that. And maybe a young kid will read it and will say, "Hey, I really identify with this character," and they'll go up to their parents and say, "Hey, can you read this? I really identify with this character, and I feel like I need help like this character needs help."
That's awesome.
So we hope that it will become a very big conversation piece for that.
Has anybody reached out to you going, "Oh, I relate to this character," and asked for where you would recommend to get help?
Well, there was one girl who was at our launch party in Salt Lake, and her mom came to us and said, "My daughter is being bullied," and she was only 5 years old.
Oh.
And so I couldn't imagine feeling like you were disliked at that age. And so I talked to the girl about it, and I told her that one day you could be where I am. I was bullied, and I'm here I'm talking to people like me who are younger than me and who are going through the same thing that I did. And there was another girl who is actually a daughter of my dad's current best friend, and she was saying that there were kids that didn't want to talk to her and would laugh at her at school, and that she was scared, that she wanted to sing, but she was scared to do it because of how people laughed at her. And I told her that she needed to stand up for herself, and she had went up to her dad and she said, "Dad, Shelby told me to stand up for myself." And that was really cool too, especially since she's a very shy and closed off girl. And she's in first grade, right? Yeah, first grade.
That's awesome. And also, like, having people, like, helping them out so they can stand up for themselves, or even find an outlet. I heard about one person, they had written an app. They just couldn't find a place to sit down at the lunchroom, kind of, they were the new kid. After years, it just kind of kept going, and nobody really paid attention to them. And they wrote an app to, find a place to sit at lunch. And the school actually took it, and they like, "Oh yeah, we have spots. Well, we're friendly. We're a friendly table."
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But it's even like that. Somebody being there, like I'm willing to step forward to help myself, and I know I'm not the only one. And that's what's really nice with the comic book is it helps.
Yeah.
It's like it's more a statement than a question, I guess. So, how long have you been doing this comics?
So it's almost a year and a half now, but I've been writing ever since I was in first grade and I couldn't spell. My friend would spell everything for me, who's a grade older than me, and I would draw everything. I wasn't that good of an artist, but I felt like I was. So I would draw everything, she would write it for me, and it still wasn't even spelled correctly. Now that I look at all the old stories that it was, it's like, what does this say? And so I've been writing for a long time, but it's been a year and a half since I started writing this comic.
Nice. And where do you see the future of this comic going?
I always say that I want to be up to par with Marvel and DC. One day have the next Infinity War movie up to that crazy blowout billion-dollar production. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be cool, though?
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Just gotta go, rub some shoulders with some people back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been doing that during the con? Because we're hearing that's really good with this, being a smaller con, being able to talk to people and maybe get ideas.
Well, I am so used to Fanix, which is in Salt Lake, and it's huge. It is ginormous. Well, now that I look at it, it's not that big compared to like San Diego and Phoenix Comic Con, but it's a lot bigger than this. And I like crowds. I don't like talking to the people in the crowds, but I like huge, ginormous crowds. I like going to concerts that are packed. I like going to huge cons, but this is definitely different. But I have really enjoyed this con so far.
Yeah, because this one, or even small, it's a one-on-one kind of, you are talking to somebody, the crowd, you're talking to the masses, and you're just kind of like, I see 1 billion people, and somebody will take the message, but I don't have to, like, relate to this particular person, maybe. Yeah. And it is different. Some of the stuff other guests were talking about is because this is so small, though, because you can have that one-on-one, you can go like, hey, what projects are you working on? Hey, maybe we could do a project together.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That is definitely one of Dad's biggest things going to these cons is they're smaller and you can network more. And Dad is a marketer. He was a major in marketing. And he likes to network with artists and people like that, and we actually found our cover artist at Phoenix Comic Con, and he drew the first concept art of Sugar Glider. It was a headshot, and it was Ryan Kincaid. And he's super nice now, and he did a cover for us, and he may be doing more stuff later on. But yeah.
Cool. Oh, I thought you were. You keep on looking like you're gonna talk.
No.
See, we have a shy person up here.
Yeah, we have a very shy person who doesn't like talking in front of people.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm outgoing. I'm optimist, all that, and I got a bunch of shy people on my podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it happens. It's a lot of fun, and having an outlet. Because I like talking about this stuff. That's why I started the podcast. Get it out there. I enjoy talking.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell, but just enjoying a conversation with people, and that's what's great is that you're enjoying this. This is an outlet. This is something to, do what you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah. For me, that's writing. For other people, it's reading.
Yep.
So, talking.
Yes, exactly.
See, I actually like doing podcasts and interviews where I'm not on TV. I don't like doing those because then Mom has to curl my hair and do all of that. But I like podcasts a lot more. They're a lot more personal than just the cameras. And my first couple interviews were live interviews. And the first time I had ever done an interview was a live interview on Good for Utah. And before the interview went on, I was slunk down in the chair like this, and I was super scared, and I was rubbing my legs and all of that. And then I went on and I did super well.
Nice.
No stuttering. I did blank out on the word meteor though. I sat there for a little while like this, trying to figure out what I was gonna say, but
that's always awesome when you're like, the word.
What is that one word? And I was panicking. It felt like 2 minutes. I was sitting there just trying to think of the word.
You're like, that's the word.
That's the word.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of fun, and that's what starting off. A lot of people had that, they didn't want to be on video, and the audio it's a little more relaxing, and plus, people can listen to this at a convenience. They're not, people are mowing the lawn. People are maybe, depending on when they're listening to it, shoveling their snow. Yeah. Driving their car. That's the nice thing about podcasts, and with comic books, it's still nice to sit down because I'm more into comic books than the books.
Yeah.
If I do books, it's audio. So.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the pictures and how everything kind of works together, and that's why I really enjoy your comics, and it's super awesome.
That's definitely. I'm more of a novel writer. I'm very detailed, very expressive novelist. But we decided that it'd be a better way to express what we were trying to do through the comic book, because right now comic books are huge right now because Infinity War, the Avengers, the MCU, DC is coming out with some great movies. Women in comics are huge. Just women in general are huge. Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, Squirrel Girl, she's huge right now too.
Oh yeah.
Please, we want her Infinity War so bad.
Well, she's the strongest strongest Marvel character.
She can defeat Thanos by herself. So we're really hoping that she shows up in the next movie. If she doesn't, there are going to be so many Marvel fans that are going to be upset. We will riot, yes. But
we'll still watch the movie, but we'll still,
we'll still go to it,
yeah.
But it's disappointing. We won't buy the movie if it's not in it. What, Dad? No, we won't.
He'll buy it.
Squirrel Girl is important. He'll buy it in secret. I won't watch it.
Here you go. So, are you thinking about moving these towards novels eventually? Like maybe even doing a novel and a comic?
I'm usually, when I start writing a novel, I write a lot of it, and then I'm like, where do I go next? I have one that's like 3 chapters long on my phone, but I don't know where to go with it. And most of the stuff that I write are based off books that I read.
Yeah.
So it may not go very far. It's just for fun, another way of expressing myself.
Yeah.
But I think the comic book is definitely the best way to go for what we're trying to express. Like I said, the pictures, the facial expressions, the kids don't really like reading novels. Well, I guess now they do a lot more.
It varies.
It's getting there, but I have a lot of friends who are like, Harry Potter, ew. See, it's just. I feel like.
Tournament will be starting in 30 minutes in the video game room.
I feel like comics is definitely a better way to express what we're doing.
Well, and that's the other thing. Even with if you did the novel, you could have it, because you can get so much more detail. Because the comic book does it's like a show or a movie. It does kind of skim over a few things because you only have so much space. Even in the big comics, the giant collections, there's still to tell this little bit of detail covers. Even with the pictures and everything, still can take some time.
Yeah.
The novel, you can cover it in like a couple pages.
Yeah.
And that would be good to even have as a side thing, kind of like how Marvel and even Star Wars currently. They have so many books. They have comic books. So you just have this massive additional story that fans can get into or people can follow.
Yeah, Rick Riordan, he has novels, and then he does little comics too. So I feel like we could do that. That would be cool.
Nice thing about novels too is that you can get a lot more detail in them, and it's kind of up to the reader to actually put it together too. So they can, like when it's being drawn on a comic, it looks great and it looks awesome, but sometimes it's just nice to be able to just construct it in your head, and it may, like when it gets like put into a movie or a TV show or something, it may be completely wrong of how you pictured it, but that's fine.
Well, that'd be like some of the pronunciations or all that, but that's also the nice thing about having the comic already out is you already have a visual of what people look like.
Have a visual for most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can follow along, because Star Wars even does a lot of that. They're like, oh, these are the characters we've made, whether we put them on the cover or whether there's in the comic book or the TV shows. You know what these characters already look like. Now you can go along there, or you can even do like that. Oh, you read the novel? Well, there's a secret character in the novel that suddenly appears in the comic without any background story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My dad, after Dave died, did he give you all those books, or did you did you already have them? You already had them? Never mind then. Forget about that. But he has so many, like 2 shelves on our bookshelves are filled with Star Wars books. And he doesn't read them. You don't read. You need to read them.
That's what I said. That's why Audible is also so nice.
Dad has Ahsoka on Audible right now that you're listening to, right, Dad?
You just finished Mandalorian Armor Book 1? Okay.
I thought you were reading Ahsoka. You
You
finished
finished
that one?
Ahsoka? Yeah, I got Ahsoka knocked out. I'm currently working on Thrawn. That one's good. Yeah, I really liked Ahsoka. That one was really, really, really good. And I love the mini story in between. And that's, like I said, the books are also really cool because I watched Clone Wars, I watched Rebels, and this is a story that's kind of in between that explains why Ahsoka is the way she is.
Yeah. Pro tip:
I can't listen to books.
never get in an argument with Bill on Star Wars. He knows way too much of the lore.
We had a debate that the voting just ended. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah, because there's so much, and I'm not even like I have friends who are way more fans in Star Wars than I am. The comics actually I kind of fell behind a little bit because there is a lot to. They're putting out like at least 10 a month, and different stories, and there's so much to read. Yeah, like it's almost easier to listen to the book, and like you said, you can't listen to it
I can't listen to books. I have to.
Like sit down and read it?
I'm very old-fashioned. I have CDs, which are like, you have CDs? What about an iPod? What about all of these crazy apps that you can get? Spotify. We don't have those. We have CDs.
They're great, and then you can also like still put them on your computer and upload them to your phone. Like with iTunes and Google, you can still upload them to your account, and then yes, you have the CD, but then you also still have the account.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
And I finally got an iPod. Me and Dad both got iPods, and now it's like I can't imagine listening to a CD with just one artist on it. It's you put it on shuffle and you go. But I can't listen to books. I have to be there and read it and read the words for myself.
Yeah, there's a few exceptions on that. Like I like reading more too, but there are some audiobooks that are just good. Like the Harry Potter audiobooks are really good. The Lord of the Rings ones, I'm sure they've done a couple, but I don't remember the name of the guy. He's dead now, but the one who did the audiobooks that I was listening to does a really good job. Actually sings the songs. So yeah, with some exceptions, I do prefer reading over audiobooks, so I get where you're coming from.
And when you have the time for it, it's really, really nice to sit down and go through these.
Yeah.
The reason I do audiobooks, I'm super hyperactive and like doing things all the time, so I like to multitask my things.
Yeah.
And watching or reading a book while you mow the lawn just doesn't quite work out so great.
No, it doesn't.
You're not trying hard enough, Bill.
Yeah, no, that's why audio. But that's the nice thing is having all these different formats and things, and also the fact that you're referencing in the comic books, like the ex-ambassadors, so you can reference all these things, or like finding somebody to talk to, or how to even find people.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So also with the research on like who to find to talk to, where did you get some of those ideas from? For finding who you can talk to?
You can talk to a trusted adult. You can talk to your parents, your guardian. You can even go and talk to your school counselors if you're still in school. You can go and talk to your school counselors. That's their job, is to listen to what you're going through, to listen to what you're struggling with. If you're stressed out about all the homework you have to make up from being gone from going to Comic Cons, then you can go to your counselor and talk about the stress that you're going through, or the depression, or your parents getting divorced, or anything like that. Like I said, parents, your friends, if they are mature enough to tell you what you need to hear, then you can talk to them about it. There are a lot of outlets that you can express your feelings through. Whenever I get upset, I go up and I put my headphones on, I listen to music, and I write a letter.
Nice.
And I don't give them to anybody. I just write them for my own sake.
Oh, that's gonna be good. Just like if you can't find somebody to talk to, like we were saying earlier, just letting it out.
It's a way of venting without a person to listen to. And like you could talk about that, but there's just something about writing it down that just helps out more. I don't know.
It's also good for goals and things like that too.
Yeah.
Getting things out.
Yeah.
So where did you get the ideas for these, or where did you find the research for these places to talk to people or to?
Well, my parents felt like I was getting depressed and sad and anxious. I actually developed a stress ulcer because I didn't want to go to school.
Yeah.
And so they put the dots together and they were like, you know what, let's start therapy. And there was a local therapist who was part of the Journey therapy or whatever, and they started taking me to go and do that. And that was very helpful. And when the girl had told me that she wanted to kill me, everyone got mad at me because she was very popular. And she had gotten moved a class to the complete opposite class that I was in. So she had gotten a class moved. And everyone was mad at me for getting her kicked out of the class that we were in. And I felt like it was my fault. Some people felt like it was their fault. And so when she had heard about that, she actually made me do a pie chart of who I felt like was guilty for getting her kicked out of the class. And we had ultimately resolved that it was her fault for getting kicked out of the class and getting moved because she had bullied me. But she was very helpful, and she had a lot of visual ways of communicating the pain that I was going through. She had a lot of speaking ways, just a lot of different outlets, sculpting with clay. There's just a lot of fun stuff that you could do to get your feelings out.
Oh, it's really good. And like with us all having different ways of looking at things, having different ways of getting it out, and that's really cool because you can try things like, oh, this isn't quite working. It doesn't quite feel like it's anything. Well, let's try something else. And that's the nice thing about getting a professional is that they have been through training on all this, so they know, hey, well, I have A, B, C, and D, and we can walk through them. And maybe you also, might get lucky just talking or just writing it down. That might absolutely work. Or even, Googling. That's the other thing. You're searching online.
Yes.
Or as the other podcast I like to Bing, if that's your thing.
Watching videos of funny people on YouTube. Watching comedians. They could help you laugh and be happy and all of that. I watched a lot of YouTube when I was depressed and stuff. And it may not have helped, but that's what I did laugh, was watching YouTube and stuff. YouTube is a wondrous thing. It helps us a lot. And me and Dad are one of those people that we look up different ways of what Doctor Strange thinks is going to happen in Infinity War. We watch that kind of stuff, and we watched all of those videos about explaining different fan theories and all of that. We're weird, aren't we, Dad? We're weird.
No, that's normal, really. I'm not saying I do that, but, yes. No, it's fun to actually see how other people react, and then you get to, and that's the other thing, like you were saying, you gain ideas for some of your writing from what you read. That's the nice thing about reading and looking at other people's stuff is you're thinking of things a certain way, but being able to bring in other people's stuff. It kind of I thought about like this, but I never quite thought about tweaking this little thing right here.
Yeah.
And it can make your story a lot better. And with design, there's a special effects designer. He actually ended up changing an entire story because he was like, well, I thought of it like this. And they're like, actually, you shouldn't do that, but this is amazing.
Yeah.
Be able to have that input.
Yeah, just having other people have input, or having people who think outside of the box to make their narrative fit, which is what he did. Yeah. Which I thought was actually really clever and cool, but yeah. So just getting other people's input will see a different side of the story that you may not have thought of. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good, and that's why keep reading, keep
Yes.
you're not taking these people, you're just taking some of the ideas and a lot of that. It helps and it creates new ideas and new stories, which is it's really interesting. Especially the meteor, really, I thought that was interesting in how people evolved and having this event of normal people suddenly having all these great abilities.
Yeah.
And then having at the end of one of them, it's oh wait, who are you? And it seemed like somebody that's either going to either help them or hurt them, waiting for the next story. It was oh wait, but wow.
Dang it.
Yeah.
When my friends had bought comic books, they're like, when's the second one coming out? Why did you do this? How could you? And they were like, please tell me what happens next. But that was definitely one of the funniest things, is people coming up to me and saying, why did you do this? Now I'm waiting for the next book. And that's definitely one of the funniest parts.
So also the other thing, especially where people are wanting the story often and kind of go through it, have you thought about maybe releasing smaller stories or smaller books over it? You'll have this is this person's arc story or anything like that?
Well, we were actually going to do only a 4-part series for Self-Image, but we aren't even to the climax yet, and it's the second book. So we're extending it to 5 to 6. Some of it may be shorter. You never know. But we were going to make a little book of Jordan trying to convince Edgar that she had powers. And it was her running all the way to Mount Rushmore, taking a picture, getting the ticket or whatever, and running back in 2 minutes. And Edgar was like, there's no way, that's this many miles away. What the heck?
Nice.
I wrote that for a book writing thing in my language arts class, because I didn't quite have the comic out yet. And so I wrote that little short story, and I got second place. But
yeah, that's the idea. You still have these ideas, and you can still,
yeah,
move forward with them. So I think we're running out of time. Yeah. So once again, for everyone to listen to, Where can they find you? Where can they buy the comic books?
So we are at A12 here at the con, which is way over on the far left side. And, well, if you're facing the other way, right side.
From the entrance, far
Yes.
left.
Okay, so we also have a website, Glider Comix, spelled with an X. We also are on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So we have a bunch of stuff. We also have business cards in the bags that if you get bags. So there you go. That's where you can find us. That's where you can get the comic if you're interested. If you want to hear more about it, you can come over and ask me at A12. You can ask me questions, but all that interesting stuff. And please come and see us.
If they want to ask you questions and they're listening to the podcast, how would how would they do that?
Ask questions.
Like,
you
how do they
You can go on Facebook and go on the group and ask questions to my dad.
Nice.
And we are also having a launch party in Vernal. If you're there, I doubt that you'll be there. If you're here in Idaho,
We can travel.
you can travel there if you really want to go.
When is that?
When is it?
October 13th.
13th.
Okay, we'll make sure to get this published so listeners can
Yeah.
join if they want.
Okay.
But, well, then thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.